Well, good morning, everybody. I'm going to be a bit late coming to you this morning. I got caught up doing a little negotiation work. Sometimes you just get lucky, and I happened to come across the boss of a company that's cutting down a bunch of trees about a mile away from here. And it just so happens that they deliver logs for firewood, which I have been having an awful time finding anybody who does that anymore, and they do it. So great. And he knows all my neighbors, he knows the whole area, and it's just awesome. So we got all that set up, and that'll be happening soon. But what I really wanted to do is talk about what I saw on television last night. And I'll talk about it as I'm walking the tree line, doing my weekly walk along the fence line here to make sure that nothing has fallen down and made an escape path for my goats and my sheep. So far, everything looks pretty good. But what I saw on TV was interesting because I really didn't know about it, because what was being spoken about occurred right when I was born. Yep, it was a year before I was born, 1954. It was a documentary about Jonas Salk. And if you remember that name from your history books, you remember he's the one that came out with the very first polio vaccine. Sabin did it a little bit later, but Salk was the first one. And it was a literal lifesaver. But what this documentary did, we talked about all the things that went on just before that as well. And what I didn't realize, because I wasn't born yet, but I was born right after all this came into being, is that there was such a sense of dread and terror amongst parents and grandparents because the awful polio virus was affecting younger kids. And not only did it leave permanent damage, it also brought a lot of death too. And the thing I didn't realize either was what the parents were most frightened about was the coming of summer, when school was out, and it's supposed to be a happy time for all the kids. And it ended up being one of the most terrifying times of their lives, because that's when this virus reared its ugly head. Those are things I didn't know about. Because like I said, I wasn't born yet, and even after I was born, I was just a little toddler. What I do remember is standing in line at the local school to get my little sugar cube that was spiked with the vaccine. Good times, good times. And I believe later on I got a shot too. So the thing is, the absolute sense of terror that you got in this documentary that was prevalent amongst people at that time. People were scared. And there was also a lot of infighting amongst the doctors themselves on how best to go about putting together a vaccine. Not unlike some of the disagreements we even have today. A lot of parallels between that time, the mid-50s, and what we're experiencing right now. A lot of that sense of dread, a lot of that sense of uncertainty, fear for the health and safety of our younger kids, and especially now since they're discovering that this COVID-19 is doing some pretty nasty things to our younger kids, as well as our, the age group I belong to now, the over 60 crowd. Well, what also came out in that documentary was the sense of exuberation once that vaccine was found to have worked. And the thing is, it took a little bit of time. Even though they rushed and they pushed things just like we're doing now, it took a little bit of time to make sure it was safe and effective for this young, vulnerable population. And the good news is polio is virtually eliminated from the face of the earth. Not 100% yet, but it's just about there. So I guess after seeing that, it gave me a sense of hope renewed confidence that all those who are working so hard right now to develop a vaccine, and even yesterday we had some good news come on out that there's one particular company that's developing something that looks pretty promising at this point, but we still have a little bit of time until that comes out for the general population, if it does prove to be effective and safe. And so far, there's a lot of hope that it's going in that direction. In the meantime, we have work to do, you and me. And that work, I always attribute to the work of love. The work of love and caring for one another. And to put aside our sense of entitlements, our sense of selfishness that, hey, you know, it's my life, I'll do what I want. I think what we need to do is say, this is our lives. This is our world together. We're not separated from each other. We're in this together. Let's work together. Let's continue to be safe. Let's continue to care for one another. Care enough that we'll even do this out in public. You know, they say it's not for your own sake that you do this. It's for the sake of others. Because who knows? Who knows what we're carrying around in our bodies? For the sake of love for one another. Let's do that. And as Christians especially, we're called to look out for those around us. We are called time and time again to look out for those in life who are most at risk. In the Old Testament, who were those people? And we see it time and time again spoken of by the prophets. Children, especially orphans, widows, and the foreigners in the land. Those who are passing through, those who are looking for safe haven, those who are looking for a new place to start a new life. Those are the three most vulnerable groups that time and time again the prophets talk about, saying that is our duty as God's people to watch out and care for them, as well as caring for one another. Oh, I love that documentary. Like I said, it gave me a sense of renewed hope that we're moving in the right direction. And I hope that maybe you might feel the same way if you get a chance to see it. I especially like the fact that I knew it, but I kind of forgot it. It all took place in my hometown area, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Yep, that's where all the trials took place and all the experimentation, and where the doctor, Jonas Salk, did his work. But most important of all, what I take away from it is we still have a little bit of work to do ourselves. And that work is be kind, be generous, be safe, but especially look out for one another. One another's benefit, one another's welfare, because it's not just about us as individuals. It's about us as a community being safe, being healthy, and that, in the end, is what we want. God bless you as you enjoy another beautiful day. See, I'm going to do it again. There's a few clouds up there, but the sun's starting to poke through. Enjoy it. Take care of yourself. And remember always, we have a loving Savior who has us wrapped safely in His arms, who's there to give us the comfort and strength we need, no matter what we have to face. God's blessings be with you this day.